All right. Hey, what's up? This is Chad Hermansen. This is the first video of the YouTube channel, and I got Jack Wilson here with me, one of my former teammates. And what I wanted to do is bring Jack on. He is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best shortstops I have ever seen. We ironically played against each other when we were young. What were we, Jack? 14?
14, 15, yeah.
14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring Jack on. And my whole idea here is with this channel is to start talking about the mental game. Start talking about, what are you guys doing? What did they do in high school? How did it change if they went to college and then on into pro ball? And I just wanted to start diving into that, just to kind of have some conversations. So, Jack, I wanted to start with you in regards to when you first started playing baseball. How old were you? Like, kind of, let's walk through your whole kind of young.
All right, yeah. I think just like every kid, starting with T-ball, when you're playing Little League and I guess they started like 5, 6 years old, started at T-ball and did the whole Little League thing all the way through, 15 years old, I think is what the highest that it went before you went into your high school seasons and stuff like that. I went to Thousand Oaks High School here in California, where I'm at now in Thousand Oaks, California. Did the 4 years there. Did all right. Wasn't, anything special by any means. I was pretty small. I think as a senior, I was probably rocking 5'10", 150 pounds. I think. I mean, not much there. I did not really put effort into the school part of high school, and kind of cornered myself as far as not being able to go to a university of sorts. Baseball was good. I was majority of my whole life, I was a soccer player prominently. That's what I did throughout the whole year, because baseball was only spring and summer, but soccer was year round with travel soccer. So that's basically my main sport. That's what I did. So baseball was kind of secondary, simply because I put so much more time into soccer, and it really was my favorite sport of the two that I would play. So I really didn't know going into my senior year what I was going to do, whether I was going to go for soccer or baseball, try to go to the next level. I knew I was going to go to junior college because I cornered myself academically, but kind of had to make that decision. It was pretty hard, just because of my love for the game of soccer. And then, decided to go to junior college and play baseball at Oxnard Junior College here in California, and spent 2 years there. And that's kind of where athleticism, strength, all kind of started to come along with baseball. Being, started to throw harder, run faster, got some weight going a little bit, grew a little bit more, not much, but it grew a little bit more. And then that's kind of by my sophomore year, I was going to go to Texas Tech University after I got my AA. But instead I did well enough to get drafted by the Cardinals in 1998, and then kind of started the minor leagues from there on, and kind of got a good foot in the door. I got a batting title in the Appalachian League. I beat out Rafael Furcal, which is like, he's a dude. And it was I beat him on the last day. It was awesome. So it was a really good foot in the door, especially mentally, having the confidence to kind of go from, I think every player that gets drafted, it has that kind of question mark, like, am I good enough to play professional baseball, and play against the best players in the world at a young age, and go live on your own and all that stuff that comes with it. So having a really good season from the get-go was huge for my confidence in starting that journey. And then about a year and a half after that, I got traded. I was in AA, and I got traded over to the Pirates organization halfway through AA. And then the following year, I was in the big leagues at 23 years old. So it went really fast. I was really lucky and blessed and fortunate to have only 2.5 years in the minor leagues and get there quickly. But it was tough. It was a very, very tough rookie year. I've always been a hitter, which was, people might be listening just be like, yeah, whatever. But I was. I was always a hitter in my minor leagues. I always hit, and then I did that AA jump to the big leagues, and I think the Pirates were focused on having a more defensive guy at short. We had Pat Mears, but I guess Lloyd McClendon was the manager at the time. Kind of, hey, let's give this young kid a shot. He's can play some defense, and I had the bat in the pass, but that jump was really too much for me at the time, to be honest with you. And not only did I get dominated physically by the pitching that was up there, mentally it was pretty wearing. It was very tough, because I really had never had that much failure before. Because even in the minor leagues, I was always successful with where I played. And, so the biggest thing that I talk about in my career when we're talking about this story is I got sent down about a month into the season. And I think we were both in Nashville
Yep.
during that month. After a month, I think in the big leagues, nothing was right. I was hitting, I think, like a buck 30 and had like 8 errors. So even the defense wasn't working, the offense wasn't working. I remember getting sent down and just being like happy about it, like relieved. Like it's just like this was just too much, too fast, and I wasn't coming to the field every day at 23 years old, confident in what I was doing. So the time came where I was like, they said, you have 3 days. We're going to send you down. You got 3 days to get to Nashville. And I hear these things in my head and I'm going, okay, I can start fresh. It's fresh start,
Right.
I drove that day that I got sent down. I drove that day from Pittsburgh to Nashville straight through overnight because I wanted to get started. I wanted that fresh slate so bad that I actually showed up the next day, and Coach Marty Brown, our manager, Marty Brown, he's like, dude, what are you doing here? You have 3 days. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like catch a Pirate game? Like I gotta get going. So,
I'm ready to go now. I need to figure
ready to go.
Out, right?
Yes, I'm ready to get this defense back, get this offense back. I feel like there's a million pounds of weight that just came off my shoulders at the big league level that wasn't working. And I showed up, and he wouldn't let me play that day because I wasn't on the roster. I tried, but early work just crushed it out. And then for that month that I lasted a month. I hit like, I think it was like 370 or something. Everything was going back to normal. And the funny thing is that Marty Brown calls me after a month in AAA. I'm hitting 370. Everything's going good. Love the teammates. Love playing with you, the guys. Everybody's cool. And something about looking up at the scoreboard when you come up to plate and seeing those numbers completely different than the numbers I would see at a huge stadium that said 130 something.
Right.
And I got the call from Marty Brown. We were on an off day, and I got the call saying, we got to get you on a flight to Detroit. You got called back up. And I actually told him I didn't want to go. And he's like,
kidding.
He's like, yeah,
oh my gosh,
I've made these calls before and I've never had someone say no. And in my mind, I was happy playing baseball, and that was always my zone. I always wanted to enjoy it. I always wanted to play well. And the first thing I thought of, if I go back up there, I'm hitting 138 and I have 8 errors.
Mm-hmm.
What I've just built by working my butt off to get my confidence back for this month that I'm in AAA, I don't want to give that up. And his answer was that, yeah, you got to get on a plane and go to Detroit. I'm like, honey, we're going back to the big leagues.
This doesn't sound fun. Let's just chill here in Nashville. We're good.
Yeah. But that was my. I love Nashville. I love that city. I love the teammates. It was just, and I was playing well and I was having fun. And that was always my thing. I always like to enjoy the game. And I knew, and I just thought, gosh, man, going back there, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a good time, and when I'm having a good time, that's when I feel like I play really well.
Right.
I'm comfortable. I'm going out there and I'm enjoying the game, which is something I always said had to be the center of why I did it. And so went back and just tried to keep that same positive attitude. Like, hey, can't get any worse. I mean, 130 is pretty freaking bad. So let's just go play. And, ended up finishing up okay that year. But
let me ask you, when you got sent down, so things weren't going right for you offensively, and you and I kind of had that similar story, right? And when you got back down there, did you immediately start working on something completely new, or were you just like, you know what, I'm just going to be myself, I'm just going to keep going to play, do my thing, or did you completely revamp, say, your swing or your mechanics and stuff like that?
No, I worked it out. You couldn't hit me enough ground balls, and so early work was every day. I remember being out there every day and them actually telling me, hey, you can't come out for early work every day. And I said, well, I have to, because that's the only way I feel. I feel like I need to work things out. Like I physically go out there and I prove it to myself that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm making errors or I'm striking out or whatnot, I feel like I can swing it out by hitting BP and playing with the ball, or or I'm out there and doing defense and doing different things. So it wasn't really much that I changed anything. I think my mentality, I was looser. Just the weight bearing of fans and media and being in the big leagues, learning how to deal with being on TV and making an error or a bad play and it's on SportsCenter that night. I mean, like dealing with all that stuff, all that goes away. So you really get to focus on playing, and nobody in Nashville is going to come up to you and talk about, like, it's not a national media thing where you're talking about your struggles or whatnot. It's a very comfortable setting because it's minor league baseball. And in the big leagues, you're asking questions. Hey, do you really feel like you're ready for this? You're really struggling, and you have to deal with that every day. Right. So not only are you trying to get your work in to try to get better, but you're answering questions on people who are trying to figure out if you believe you should be here, which is really tough to do at the same time. So you go down to AAA, and your sole focus is baseball. You don't have to worry about TV. You don't have to worry about 40, 50,000 people in the stands watching you. It was much more comfortable for me to focus on what I needed to do as a baseball player rather than all the other stuff that came with it.
Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting because as we kind of went up and down, right? And then you got to the point where you did figure it out. I remember getting sent down and just going through my mind the exact same thing of, because I came up as a top prospect,
right?
Supposed to be here for the next 10, 15 years, big expectations. And it was that feeling of getting sent down. It was because you suck so much, right? and you're not living up to what that expectation is. And then you go home every night, there's another 0 for 3. You just keep beating yourself down, right?
Yeah.
And you go down to the AAA, and it's a relief. And I know talking to other guys throughout that have been in that same boat, there's a certain guys that they get called up and they never go back down.
Right.
And we didn't experience that. And I don't really know how many guys actually do experience that. It's those are almost Hall of Fame type guys.
Right. Oh, they're special.
And to not say they don't have struggles or the obstacles and slumps, things like that. But they were able to figure it out in a quicker pace. They didn't get off to bad starts, or they did and they figured it out quickly. They were able to make adjustments.
Right.
But it's just interesting how our brains were like, oh, okay, like right. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna relax now.
Right.
It's just weird how that all works out. When you were so the reason, and I want to tell a backstory here. The reason you came to Pittsburgh, because they figured out I can't play shortstop.
Right.
Like, we drafted Hermansen, like he's throwing the ball all over the place. We need a guy that can play short, right? So you came over here, and I was like, dude, get me in the outfield. Like, nice. We have Abraham Nunez,
right?
And Jack Wilson came over, and that was the first time I saw you because we became teammates in Nashville, right? Mm-hmm. And Chuck Fick was who drafted you,
right?
So Chuck Fick is still a scout in the Four Corners area. So I'm personally scouting in this area. I see Chuck all the time. Chuck, he looks exactly the same.
Yep.
Right? He looks exact same. He's been doing this forever. He's now with the Giants. Chuck is an amazing dude. But I remember him saying, he's like, yeah, you guys, I ran into him. He's like, you got Jack Wilson. He's like, that's my guy. Right? And I'm like, tell me about him. He's like, oh, dude, he's amazing. He's a shortstop. He can hit. He can do everything. I was like, sweet. So I ran into him when I was and I think I was up. I already had a little bit of time in the big leagues at that point, but I was still up and down. And then that's when we met in Nashville. And
right.
I'm like, dude, this guy is legit. We had so much fun.
It was a great time.
Becoming teammates. But it's interesting, though, because you and I had that same experience of why is this not fun in the big leagues? And I still think about that all the time. And I was like, obviously our brains were not where we needed to be with our self-confidence, with our self-image. So you, from what I'm understanding, is you, from an infielder standpoint, you needed to go out and work it out. You needed to take ground balls. You needed to take extra hitting.
Yeah.
Because you had to, it sounds like you needed to feel it.
Yes.
right?
No, absolutely. I felt like there were most of my time in in my whole career, if I had a day where it just didn't go right, whether it was, mostly at the plate, I'm not leaving the yard, so I'm going straight to the cage after a game and I'm going to swing it out and I'm not leaving until I feel okay. You know what I mean? So I'll come in and I'll take it out on Iron Mike. Be like, all
Okay.
right, bro, it's me and you. If it takes an hour, it takes an hour. If my hands are bleeding, I don't care. I'm gonna figure this out before I go home. So it'd be the text to the wife, be like, hey, it might be a little bit later this time. I gotta do something. Because in my mind, it's like I've always been the guy, if you don't like something, do something about it. Whatever it was in my life that was going on that needed it, be like, I'm not really a complainer. I'm more of a doer. So if I don't like something, it's up to me to do something about it. And I use that in my career. If I even in a mid game, say we were playing a game and it's the second inning, and a ball gets hit to me, and either I boot it or I throw it away. For the rest of the game, I will line up in that same spot in between innings to make sure that first baseman is throwing me that same throw on a ground ball in between innings when we're warming up. Do the footwork exactly the same as I did when I made the mistake, and I'll keep doing it the rest of the day, knowing that, all right, this is what I did wrong. I threw it from this angle, my feet were wrong, whatever. And I'll physically do that for the next 7 innings in that same way, that same ball, to make sure in my mind, okay, if that happens again, the first thing in my thought that comes to my brain is not what happened in the second inning. I've already erased it by doing it over and over again for the next 6, 7 innings. So that was my thing. If I made a mistake, I wanted to duplicate it and make sure I got it right, so it wasn't in my head if that same ball came back to me later in the game. So I was always somebody that's like, I have to fix it now, and this is how I fix it. I work it out.
So you'd work it out, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're hitting in the cages, you're doing your thing, hands are bleeding.
Yes.
Did you ever get to the point where, okay, I need to back off this thing? Like I'm overworking this. I'm taking I'm too tired to even go to the field now because I'm overworking. Did you ever have any of that?
Yeah. So I just started bunting. I was like, all right, learn to push butt. Just swinging ain't working. So no, like it was thought process like that. I don't feel like I could overwork anything. I had a lot of energy.
Yes, you did. I remember that. You were all high energy guy.
High energy guy. So it's not like I had it to spare for sure. So those sessions, I was always able to work it out. So it's not so much I overloaded it. It was just something that it was a switch in my head. If I felt any self-doubt, I felt I could flip the switch by just doing what I thought. If I was rolling over the ball to shortstop that I felt I should be driving to right center, I'd just go in the cage and hit everything to right center. And then I'll say, all right, I'm going to go 10 in a row. And I'd get to 9 and I didn't get 10, I'd do 10 again.
Mm-hmm.
And then what it did for me is just gave me a peace of mind. Really, that I was setting myself up for the next day rather than going home and just, what's wrong with my swing? I kept rolling over.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll fix it real quick. I mean, because here's the thing, like if you're in the big leagues or, in the minor leagues, you're a professional athlete. You've done things in your career that less than 1% of people have done since they picked up a baseball in their kids. So you have the ability to do it. It's just something mechanically or mentally is wrong. We'll fix it. And you should be able to. You're a professional athlete. You tell yourself like, hey, all right, you know what you're doing wrong. We all know when you're pulling out, your head's pulling out, you're going to hit it off the end of the bat and roll over short. So get your head back in the game and hit the ball to right center, whether it's off a tee or Iron Mike, whatever it may be. So I just felt that was the key for me. I was just like, if I can leave here with the bad day, but hey, let me fix it now, and then I can sleep well at night. And my kids will like me more when I get home.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we had chatted before, and you had mentioned to me that while you were in Pittsburgh, you actually purchased a house that was roughly 30 minutes plus away from the stadium. So you, after a game, kind of walk us through that. Why did you do that?
Yeah, I felt, in my first, when it happens with Major League Baseball players, for those who don't know, when you first make it up to the big leagues, you have rental places, whether it be apartments or condos, even if you rent a house, whatever it may be. And it's usually close by if you've, sent your car out or you bought a car where you're playing or whatnot. But it's usually close by, so it's easy access because you really don't know at that point within the first 3 years if you're going to be sent down a lot. You don't buy a house because unless you plan on living there in the off season. So
that would be a major power move if you did.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's special. I mean, like tip the hat to you. Like that's confidence right there. But so when it came time after when I got my first multi-year deal, which was in 2005, I believe. It was a 2-year deal where you finally felt like, all right, I can get something now. I feel like I should be here. I think it was a 2-year deal, so at least I know I'm here 2 years rather than waste rent. I guess you could say that money. At least we buy something and own something.
Yeah.
And so I purposely thought about it like I would really like to have us pushed out further so that I had the 30 to 40-minute drive. And the purpose was for that is that I really wanted to make sure that the time that I needed to prepare for a game mentally on my own, I wanted that and to be separate than my family time. So that I didn't know if I'm staying at somewhere close and I'm only 10 or 15 minutes away from the stadium, I don't think I need 30 minutes of focus because we have all the information as big leaguers. We know who we're facing that day, whoever that pitcher is. And if I can get 30 minutes of focus on my own, whether I'm just listening to music and driving to the field, that was my happy spot. That was my place where I needed to be, where kiss the kids goodbye, bye honey, see you at the game, whatnot. And then I had that 30-minute drive. So I really wanted to get that space, which we did. We lived in Mars, Pennsylvania, which was an awesome place to play and raise your kids, or to live and raise your kids. So not only did I have that 30 minutes prior to getting to the field and starting my process to get ready for a game, but I also had 30 minutes back where I could let everything go in that time where if I'm going to worry about or think about what I need to do baseball wise for the next day, I have that 30 minutes because I don't want to go home and be thinking about that when I'm trying to spend time with my kids and my wife, because it's very hard to balance that family life and the baseball life, especially in the big leagues where we're traveling all over the place. The time that you are with your family, because we're traveling 3 months out of the year, we're on road games. So the time that we're with our family, we really want to dedicate that time to them. So that 30 minutes was the perfect amount of time to get me ready and then come home to prepare to be like focused on the family.
Yeah, it's so true because even if you decided to go home at right after a game, right, and you got kids, they're waiting in the family room.
Yeah.
And you're like, you just went 0 for 3, had an error or something, you had a crappy game. Like you don't want to be walking into the family room like, let's go, let's get out of here. Like
Right.
you're all pissed off, and
Yeah,
so
right.
there's kind of that. Yeah, let's go. Why is the car started already?
Yeah. Get out of here. I'm tired of being here. Whatever. And that was cool. That's why kind of. And there were plenty of days. The good thing is, like, we do have the kids in the family room, and there were some times where I was like, all right, I'll take we have 2 cars. I'll take the kids. Like those on the good nights where you're like, okay, you had a 3 for 4, your team won. I'll drive the kids back. But a lot of times they understood, or at least my wife understood because my kids were little, but she understood that, she could probably tell by just watching the game. It's like, all right, he's going to want to drive home on his own, not with a car seat with a kid in the back wanting to watch Blue's Clues.
Yes.
I think he needs that time. So it's really just a really cool partnership with our wives and them understanding what goes on in our heads and what we need to do to be successful for the game and for our family.
Well, now correct me if I'm right that you married your high school sweetheart as well.
Well, no, actually, it was pretty close. I mean, I met her 6 months before the draft. No, I'm sorry. I met her a month before the draft, and I met her at a country line dancing bar. And that was my thing, and we dated for that month, and I had to tell her, I might get drafted here pretty soon, and she thought I was going to the Army. So I was like, winner.
You do look like a killer.
I do. I mean, now I do. I had hair back then though, so. But literally 6 months later, we were married because I spent rookie ball in Johnson City, Tennessee, and I was like, our whole relationship was based over the phone because she was in California and I was in Tennessee, so it just made sense. We both had faith-based background, so the whole the rules that we believe in our faith was that you you didn't live together before marriage.
Right.
So we're like, all right, I'm 21, you're 19. Let's get this done. Like, let's go. I just want a batting title. Let's go. So
I've waited too long. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah. So it ended up being an awesome thing, because we look back like, gosh, we were so stupid. but now we're on 21 years of being married. So it's been it's living in faith and knowing that God has a plan for you. That was her entering my life a month before the draft started, where I'm going to live on my own and all the things that come with a 21-year-old kid who just got a bonus, who's now living on his own, and the dangers that come with that. For her to be entered into my life, I was like, that's why I'm like, we're getting married in January, because I need you. Like you keep me centered, so it was awesome.
And we have to thank her for keeping you out of the line dancing bars.
No, she needs that. We all need that. We did the push and the electric slide. That has to happen.
It's funny because you mentioned you played soccer growing up, and I remember like you're a really good dancer, right? So here in Las Vegas, I remember Manny Guerra, who you might even remember being a Cardinal guy. Manny Guerra's a famous scout here in Las Vegas, and when he scouted me in high school when I was playing shortstop back then, and he would come up to me, he's like, if you're gonna play shortstop, you have to be able to dance.
Yes.
I was like, I can dance. Like,
yeah.
Really the running man right now, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But
yeah, you do.
I totally remember all that.
Right? It's all footwork. I tell people all the time, because a lot of the things, I've been coaching high school for the last 4 years, and a lot of the thing that we don't see now. I don't know if you played. Did you play any other sports in high school at all, other than baseball?
No, we weren't allowed to. Just we were all year long. So
yeah. So like I didn't play football. I was the kicker. So I say I played football. I kicked football, and then I went to soccer, and then I went to baseball. So I played 3 sports, which is unheard of now, because everybody kind of earlier getting into the focus of playing one sport to try to go to college when they're in 8th grade. It's just different. But I tell people all the time, there's no way that I could have played shortstop at any of that of the level if I didn't play soccer, because I was a forward. So the footwork that I needed to make moves, to create space, to take shots, to take guys one-on-one, all that quick footwork was exactly what converted to a shortstop to be able to make athletic moves that you can dive or make a play or go in the hole or do a jump throw, whatever. It was the footwork that I had from playing soccer my whole life. So I, as a high school coach, I'm like, play as many as you want, like play sports, because the athlete, the baseball players that just play baseball can be really good, but the baseball players that play other sports, they stick out because they've trained their bodies to do different movements and actions that baseball players only haven't done. And basketball players can jump and they can move. Like all you super athletes, it's interesting if they were to do an MLB poll on all these like Major League Baseball players, especially like the really good ones, if they played multiple sports, growing up, because these guys doing athletic things. I think it comes a lot from being able to play other sports early on and learning different movements that really transfer over to baseball.
No doubt. I mean, so I'm in my 8th year of scouting, right? And one of the first things when I go to the field, I'm looking for, I mean, obviously I'm probably going to look at a particular player.
Right.
But say if I'm looking at a junior in college and there's maybe a young kid that's coming up, I'm like, that's my first thought. Is like, what kind of athlete is he?
Right.
And there's, even from a pitcher standpoint, we'll be looking at kids that like his stuff is over here, but we're like, well, what's his vertical?
Right.
Right. How can he jump?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that's a piece of the puzzle now in regards to looking at athletes, looking at how explosive they are, and the athleticism of being able to make an adjustment in their delivery, things like that. It's really interesting.
Yeah, the big guy around here, there's a big training kind of testing that is in all over California, all over the nation. I forget what it's called, but they've done all these NBA guys and football guys and whatnot, and the number 1 guy nationally ranked is Jack Flaherty, the starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, who went to Harvard Westlake High School, which is out by here. And his numbers for athleticism and all the tests they do dwarf NBA All-Stars. They're dwarfing, all-pro linebackers and stuff on athleticism. And it just shows and now that guy's the ace of the staff for the St. Louis Cardinals. And, like you said, athletes can make adjustments faster than everybody else. And that's really what major leaguers probably do better than anybody is making that mid at bat adjustment or whatever it may be, different arm angle and how they pitch or whatnot, arm slap from when they're thrown across the diamond. Those adjustments come from being athletes.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So tell us about your family. How many kids you have? What are their ages?
All right, so I have 3 kids. I got Jacob, who just turned 18, and then I have Jaden, who is 14. She's about to start high school, and Jersey is a 12-year-old about to start middle schools. And then Jacob's a baseball player. He played soccer a little bit growing up, which made me happy, but made the choice to go to baseball. And he's kind of I guess we're virtually graduating this year, high school, with everything that's going on. But he's headed to Grand Canyon University to play baseball on a scholarship, so we're really excited about that. And then both Jane and Jersey play soccer year-round.
Of course they do.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they play club soccer, which makes me really happy because I still get that piece of my life and that I love so much. So I'm really happy to go and watch them play.
It's interesting now that we're both. What are you? 42.
42. You're
42. Yeah. So,
you just turned 43, right?
I'm 42 still. Yeah.
Oh, you're 42 still. Okay.
Few months away. Easy.
All right. My bad.
But it's interesting how so with mine, I have 4 kids, right?
Right.
And my son is the middle, is really the only, he plays baseball. And then my youngest at 11 plays soccer, more on the rec side. We haven't gotten into the club scene. And with my travels, my wife's like, thank goodness, because I would have to imagine for you, your weekend was just insane with baseball and soccer.
Super Soccer Saturdays. That's what we call them. We had either 2 soccer games and a baseball game. When Jake was playing soccer, they were all 3 playing rec at the same time before the girls did club soccer. So we were at soccer fields all day long. I like probably you and probably every dad live for watching kids playing a sport. I get geared up for it. I dress up for it, to be honest with you, just to embarrass them. I mean, if their team's blue, I am wearing blue or finding some sort of replica jersey that I can wear to just, I'll dress up with whatever they're wearing just because I'm, like every dad, you're their super fan, Right. I told Jacob, and I'm like, Jacob's been playing for me, with travel ball in high school, since 2012 when I retired, I've been full time. I've been his coach, and I told him, for his, when he graduates, I'm excited to be the fan. Right. I told him, I'm like, listen, bro, you're going to Grand Canyon. I'm going to have your jersey replica wearing with a foam finger on, screaming in the stands, for the Lopes, because we've had that relationship as, the father-son coach, dynamic for so long. I'm so excited to be just the fan, just the dad, because it's something we really haven't had yet. From him. So I'm super excited for that. I have my Southwest miles racked up for my next year. I told my high school scheduler for my high school games, I'm like, nothing on the weekends. I need the weekends so I can go to Burbank Airport, hit the Southwest to Arizona or wherever they're playing and travel around and watch and just, be a dad.
That's awesome. And I scout that area. So that's actually the first time I ran into you. It had been quite a while since I'd seen you, and then all of a sudden you're at Grand Canyon. Yeah. I'm watching a game, and you're like, oh, yeah, my son's you're on a recruiting trip, taking a peek and looking at it, and then I think he committed a few months later.
No, it's a great place. We're excited for him. Love Coach Staff and Coach Stankiewicz and Coach Wallace. I mean, we're really excited for him to get out on his own and start his own journey.
So let's talk about Jake growing up. So obviously, dad's a big leaguer. Right. You coached him since he was a kid. Yeah. So how did that?
Yeah, during when I was playing, I didn't. But in fall ball, I wouldn't come back and be the manager just because I felt like they would be practicing all summer when I wasn't there. But I'd come in and kind of help a little bit. And then when I retired, I kind of went full into, all right, let's run this thing. Let's be the head coach and do stuff with some dads and stuff like that. But yeah, we've been coaching him since he was full time, since I think he's 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know him more than anybody.
Yeah.
As he was growing up, did he have any, let's talk about comparison. Did he compare any traits? Hey Dad, when you were this age, did you do this? Or
Yeah.
how far could you hit a ball when you were this age?
Right. He did. He asked a lot of questions about that. I think I think the life of a kid and the dad that played professional sports is pretty tough. And I think and it's really unfair to them, because no matter what they do or accomplish, it's always in other people's eyes, not always, but other people's eyes will be able to be like, oh, he got a scholarship at Grand Canyon because his dad's a big leaguer and he knows the head coach over there. It's all, and I think he knew that, and I think he got that at an early age, because I would coach all-stars, and obviously, he was a good player and he would make all-stars on his own, but you have that daddy's the coach type of thing, and he would ask those questions early on, like, okay, when you were this age, like you were saying, did you hit home runs and stuff like that? So I would tell him, honestly, from year to year, like how he was developing to push him but with the understanding that, like, you and I are going to be different. You are going to be Jacob Wilson, and that's more important than anything I can tell you, because you are not Jacob Wilson, Jack Wilson's son. You are Jacob Wilson, and you're going to have your own path. And I said, we can talk about comparisons and simply to say, here are the things that I think you need to work on to get better. That really has nothing to do with me, because my journey was completely different. I came from 2 postal workers who didn't even play sports. My brother played, 9 years in the minor leagues as well. So we had 2 brothers that came from postal workers who didn't play sports. And I said, everybody's journey is different. And I said, most importantly, you don't let anybody tell you that you've done anything because of what your dad did. Because all I've done, and the only really advantage you have, and that your son will have, is the information that we were able to get from the best coaches in the world at the highest level. It's like, that's how we can help you maybe succeed faster on the mental side only. Physically, right. We can't make you throw harder. We can't make you run faster, but we can see things in your swing that we did ourselves. We know when we're dipping our backside. We can tell you when your head's pulling out really quickly, because we played at the highest level and we knew those things. But it was very adamant from the get-go, like, listen, you are you, and whatever you accomplish is going to be because of you, not because of your dad. And understand that. And when you do understand that, nobody can take or say anything against that. So, because there are going to be people that are going to say that. And so I've kind of prepared him from that at 11 and 12 years old, before you kind of get to middle school and high school, because those comparisons or those comments were going to come.
Yeah, no doubt. I know. So my son's just a year younger than yours, right? And we're even on a different, I don't know if you did, but he goes to the same exact high school I went to.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, right? I coach at Thousand Oaks. That's where I went. That's where he just graduated from.
Yeah, so it's so easy to put them in the shoes of, anytime I'm around town, like, how's your kid doing? Does he do this like you did? Does he run like you did? Does he throw like you did? So it's almost like you understand. Like when I talk to him, he's like, all people do is ask me about you.
Right.
So
well, I'm sure if we look up it's Green Valley, right? I'm sure the record books are going to show your name in there for some categories, I would assume, for what you did there. And so it's like, and the same here, I had a really good year my junior year, where like the batting average and the hits were the records, but it's even there. And, is your number retired or anything at the school that he sees every day when he's at the field? All that stuff that comes into play, where they're faced with it nonstop, especially at the school that we succeeded in.
Yeah. So it's almost like, dang, do we need to move? Do we
need to go to another school? I think it's awesome. I was very proud to be able to put on, to have him wear the same colors and to walk the same halls as I did. I thought it was pretty cool to have that high school experience, the same as myself. My parents went there, my aunts and uncles went there. We had like 15 or 16 people that went to the same school. So it was like this family thing, and my brother and I. So I think I always liked it, because it was like, you're playing on the same field, that the freshman field, the JV field, the varsity that I did.
Right.
You're the same dirt. Like you're hitting in the same batter's box. It's like it was really fun to watch.
Yeah. So you've been coaching high school ball for a while now.
Yeah.
For me, I think in order to become a better player, I think we talk about confidence, right?
Right.
And to me, confidence is it's more an act. Like I need to act confident, right?
Right.
Because baseball, as it ebbs and flows, right? Of
Yeah.
the success, of the failure, it's a lot more failure. So if you're letting every outcome of your at bat, say as example, dictate, oh, I'm confident because I got a hit,
Right.
right? Then our confidence is up at that at bat. Then we struck out. Now it's back down.
Right.
So how do you portray that with the kids that you're coaching as far as confidence goes? Because I think that's usually the biggest, like, how do I keep my confidence up?
I think that what I tell my guys is I tell them really on my experiences. I've always told my guys, I said, listen, you're never really going to hear about the things that I accomplished. You're going to hear about everything I did wrong because I want you to not make the same mistakes I did. And I said, I said the best guys that I ever played with, Ichiro, Ken Griffey Jr., when Jason Bay was an all-star, Freddie Sanchez, all those guys, the all-stars, they had the same heartbeat. There was no peaks and valleys. Like you couldn't tell, if Ichiro went 0 for 5 the day before because he comes and it's a new day. And I always tell him, I say, listen, what you want to do in baseball, and it is a game of failure. It is how we react to failure, how our mind looks at failure. If we're getting out 7 times out of 10, you're a really good baseball player, and in high school, it's more like 6 out of 10 because I guess 350, 375 is more kind of like the basic for high school, I guess. But is to understand that your last at bat does not determine what you're going to do in the next at bat, and your last game is not going to determine what you do in the next game. So if you're 3 for 3, are you guaranteed to get hit your 4th bat? And the answer is no. You went out there and you were successful for 3 at bats, but that doesn't mean like you got to have that same frame of mind that when you went up there the 1st at bat to the 4th. And just because you struck out 3 times doesn't mean that 4th time that you're coming up, you're not gonna drive a ball in the gap and go 3. So it's tough too because these kids are under a lot of pressure now in high school. And I think you probably got that as a top player in the nation. I know I definitely didn't get that. And you were on the draft spectrum. You're obviously the 10th overall pick. So I had 0 pressure in high school because I wasn't supposed to do anything anyways. You're like, I didn't have the grades, and I was all right, but it wasn't like you couldn't pick this guy to be a major leaguer one day. Not a chance. So, but the pressures these kids are facing now and trying to get college scholarships by their sophomore or junior year, or verbally committing or whatever it is really tough. And a lot of the perfect game rankings and stuff like that they'd have to deal with, and comparisons that they get between other players and all the showcases they do. It's a completely different era that they're growing up in that we did. So it's a lot of it you really have to attack the mental side and confidence and let them know that none of that, all that is white noise. It doesn't mean anything. It's just some guy with a computer that's putting numbers together and ranking you. Does that mean, if you're ranked this hot, this in one website, this another website, does that have any outcome of what you're going to do in the game? Like, no, your outcome comes from your preparation, your practice, and are you paying attention on the on-deck circle or in the dugout, watching hitters in front of you? That's how you go out and play baseball and get recognition or whatever you're looking for. But, it's really tough for these kids now. And you really have to, like you're saying, really get into their mind of trying to get that same heartbeat, with understanding that if I see you on a day you're 4 for 4 and I see you on a day for 0 for 4, if I can't see any difference in your body, your mannerism, or how you're acting, that's what you want. That's what scouts are looking for. Right. I'll tell you all the time, scouts want to see what you look like when you fail, because everybody's a great teammate when you're having a great day. You're up on the top step, Derek Jeter, captain, like top step is the guy coming in, the whole 9 yards. You're a great teammate. You're out there with energy because everything's going right. So what do you look like when you're struggling? I said that's the biggest thing that people are gonna look at, because this game is based on failure. And at the next level, if you can't control yourself and your emotions and your body at high school level, how are they going to see that you're going to do in college and beyond?
Yeah, I That's awesome. I think a big part of that too is when you can't, when you're 4 for 4, roll for 4, you're that even kill, right? So really, to me, when you kind of go even kill, that's really just staying neutral.
Yeah.
With all of it, it's just being able to, it's good or bad, no matter what, I'm neutral. I'm not going to let the success or failure of that at bat, of that pitch I threw, of that error I made to dictate how I'm going to feel and act after that.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's where professionals start to develop that kind of maybe part of that routine of you get so many reps in that you start to really kind of understand yourself. Right. Of, okay, I'm stinking right now. I'm 0 for 20, but when I go for 25, am I going to finally snap and throw a bat?
Right. Right. No, I hear you. I think that's part of the game that like once you get up there, especially with the cameras on you and stuff like that, and controlling your emotions, it's a tough thing because the passion for wanting to do well, the passion for trying to help your team win, and really you get to the big leagues and it's your job to stay there, which they say is the hardest thing to get to the big leagues. The only thing harder is to stay there, right?
Yeah.
So the pressures that come with that, and I try to get our kids and the high school kids to understand that, like, listen, you're not there yet. You're not providing for your family right now. You just need to go out there and try to teach them the things that people are going to look for, and to stay positive. And you know what, you can leave a day at an 0 for 3 and make a mistake on the field and still somehow help your team win a baseball game.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to focus on. That's what you got to leave with. They said, you know what, I had a tough day, but I drew a walk in the 6th inning. I ended up stealing a base and I scored the winning run on the single. Like, that's a great day. You helped your team get a W. Like, you might not have gotten a hit and you might not have made the play you wanted to make, but when it mattered, you were there for your team. So you can have bad games and help a team win, which overall is the goal anyways. And people will notice that.
No doubt. So you're at home in this quarantine, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of chilling, hanging out. Are you so what's Jake's plans for this summer? Has he got something lined up already to go play somewhere?
He was lined up to play in a collegiate summer league out here in California.
Yep.
They allow, I think each team's allowed 2 high school players coming straight from high school. And I really was excited for him to get that roster spot because I think, seeing college, not only college athletes and college competition prior to stepping foot on campus, but really see how they go about their business. Because, when you go to college, it's a college programs are hard. They're very difficult. Their weight routine, Jacob was a lot like me. He's not a big weight room guy. And for the first 3 months, I think they start at 5 in the morning. So your 4:15 wake up call to get to team breakfast, to get to 5 a.m. lifts 4 times a week is probably an eye opener for most freshmen. I know it'll be for him. He's mentally prepared for it. I think understanding that this is what they're going to ask you to do. So having that summer league ahead of that and kind of picking brains and being around that age and that speed of play, I always thought was really excited for. Hopefully it does happen. They're supposed to start in mid-June. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But hopefully he can get that point and get that experience before heading over to college in Arizona.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so excited about that.
That's going to be fun. It's going to be fun watching him. I get to evaluate him. I'm going to tell you whether he stinks or not.
Yes.
Right.
I'll tell you too. And that's a good thing, that the relationship we have too. I think, he really struggled his sophomore year, which I was really happy about. He was a sophomore in varsity. Defensively, he was really, really good. I think he made, on the varsity level for 3 years, he made 3 errors. So he's really good with the hands, and he turns the double play really well. So he was able to struggle offensively his sophomore year, but defensively he was able to keep himself in the lineup, which was good for him. But I told him after sophomore year, it's like, this, if you're going to struggle, this is the year to do it. You're a sophomore. But you got to figure out what you need to do personally. I can tell you what I did, but that doesn't mean it'll work for you. But you got to find out what you need to do, whether it's cage work or tee work, whatever it may be, to get yourself right. And over the course of the next 2 years, he was able to come up with his own program headphones on, hitting in a cage by himself. He didn't want that. He wanted to do his own thing, which was what kind of vaulted him to have what was a really good senior year before it got shut down. So another thing that I was really, really proud of our of any player is to learn from their mistakes, learn from when they're struggling, what happened, how'd you get out of it, and remember that. Understand, all right, this is what got me out of it. And just because you come back and you're back to normal doesn't mean you change your routine that got you out of it. You continue with that same routine. So a lot of the times these high school kids and these athletes, have a hard time finding that routine that works for them and be consistent with it. They'll just use it to get back like it's a Band-Aid. Right. And all of a sudden they go back to dropping their shoulder and whatnot because they stopped working because they had a couple good games to come off their bad games. So, coming up with those routines or whatever works for them to get them confident and back on track.
No doubt. Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely when you get to that college atmosphere, I think I went straight from high school. So I went to Pirate City right away. We still had that routine.
The old Pirate City too.
Old Pirate City.
That was a little different than the new.
A little bit better now.
A little bit. Yeah, that place was pretty. That was tough. That was a tough place to go. But hey, like you said, that's a big step. I mean, going from high school, I know that'd have been a pretty tough jump for me. Just mentally. I mean, that's really I think for any high school kid that gets drafted, that's a big adjustment that it's hard to prepare for.
For me looking back, because I was still 17 when I was drafted, right? I was able to play rookie ball in my short season with the college kids. I played rookie ball for maybe a couple weeks and then got moved up.
Oh, nice.
When that started. And that was exciting because rookie ball, you're playing at 1 PM in Florida.
Right.
And you're dying, where now you moved up to short season. Now you're at the 7:00 game. You're under the lights. You got the fans.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a completely different game and adjustment. And you feel like you're starting to play with men.
Right. Right.
Like, oh, you just graduated high school or college. You're 23 years old.
Right.
Right. Like you have a kid now.
Exactly. Yeah, they're married.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I'm 17. Your eyes are just like, I'm just here to play baseball.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. This is, like I said, this is the first call that we're putting together, and the whole idea here is to, start just having some dialogue here with what players do to stay, positive, and to everyone. We all know that this game is so hard, and it just gets harder as you keep going up.
Right.
So how do you go about doing these things? Building your confidence, building your self-esteem, your self-image, all that stuff is so important. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here on this site. And I think, Jack, you provide us with a lot of information here. Hopefully this is going to help a lot of kids.
I hope so. That'd be awesome. Yeah, just make it fun. Remember, this still is a game. This will always be something we play for the joy of it. And the one thing I'll leave you with that I wanted to say, I tell, people would ask me all the time, like, what does my kid need to do to make it to the big leagues? I'm like, okay, number one, your kid's 6. Let's just start with that. Okay, let's just rewind a little bit.
He needs to lose his teeth first.
Hermansen is not going to the 12-year Little League fields to scout right now. It's just not happening. Maybe one day, I doubt it. But, try to put it in perspective. I said, listen, for me, I'll tell you exactly my thought process when I started this journey. I said, I never, in my wildest dreams, I never had the goal of making it to the big leagues. Even when I got drafted and I decided to play baseball, the big leagues were never in my sights. And I simply said this, if I can get as good as I can possibly make myself, no matter where I ended up, I was going to be okay with. I'm going to be satisfied. If I knew that I went in the cage and I took the ground balls and I gave it everything I could, if that meant that I went to Texas Tech and that was it, then that was it. If I went to AA and that was it, I can look back and go, I gave every ounce of my body and my heart and my mind into this game. And wherever that led me, that was what I was going to be okay with. And I got blessed and fortunate enough to be up there and play for a long time and do some cool stuff and visit some cool places. But that was never my thought process. And I think I never watched the Dodgers. I didn't watch baseball on TV. I was watching the World Cup. I was watching Team USA. So like having that thought process, and I think it's really good for people to understand, if you just concentrate on what you need to do to help your team win games, to be the best teammate and the best player you can possibly be, where you go is what's going to happen. It's what's going to be there, and you can always look back and be okay and happy and satisfied with what you did, because you never compared yourself with somebody else. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to be Derek Jeter. Yeah. I changed my number to number 2 after my second year, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're trying to be Jeter." I'm like, he's 6'5". I'm not trying to be Derek Jeter. I just like the number, and it's just like, for me, I never compare myself with anybody. I didn't have to look at fantasy rankings or whatnot, because it's like, oh, don't draft him, he only hits it. It didn't matter. Like, all I wanted to do was be good at what I did and give it everything I could and help my team win baseball games. I tell the pitchers, hit the ball to me, I got you. If I make an error, hit it back to me, I'm going to turn a double play. Just having that thought process of be as good as you can possibly be. Make yourself that player. And wherever you go, and I think you have a good chance of going far with that type of focus. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Do you the best you can.
Absolutely. Dude, that's awesome. And that all falls into the process over the outcome.
Right.
It's focusing on being the best you and working on reaching your potential. That's what it really is. Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome, dude. I can't thank you enough for coming on board with me.
Great.
Now you got to get out to Vegas, come visit the family. Right?
Yeah, I agree. We need to get out of here. Once this thing opens up, we've been in this house a long time, so I'm sure it's going to be reaching out and in different places and try to get out. But no, man, it's great talking to you, catching up, man. It's love talking baseball with you.
So you just started an Instagram account, and I know I'm following you now. You started doing some drills.
Woo! Yeah, right? I'm gonna put some more on there and try to get some. I don't even know what my title is. So I'm not a social media guy. My kids through quarantine were like, "Dad, you need to do a social media." I'm like, "Yeah, what does that mean?" So this came after my time. Okay, so it's Jack.Wilson_2 apparently.
That's terrible. What is that?
I don't know. They set everything up. Apparently I have 293 followers. I don't even know if that's good or not. But I got some cool stuff on there. I did some videos. There's some stuff on Jake and there's stuff on me and Freddie.
Yeah.
There's little things here and there. I think
if you're an infielder and on you, go follow Jack. I'll put it like in the show notes or under the link on the
follow.
Hit the follow.
Hit the follow button, whatever that does. No, I will be putting up. Especially now, I put on a lot of different stuff to help people to stay stay baseball or softball ready during this time, so that when it does open up, and some leagues or some things can be out there and kids can start playing again, they're not starting from scratch. So, some stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome, man. I love those kind of videos. I was the creativity that you had in them already. I was like, this is sweet.
Dude, the boredom right now is exploding. Like the board, like what else can we do?
Right.
All video, and stuff. So there's be some fun stuff on there, but there'll also be some stuff that I think people can use. Definitely some stuff. But we'll keep being creative.
Awesome.
Gets us out of the house.
Good deal. Well, anything else, Jack, you want to tell our audience?
Oh man, I'm excited. I think stuff like this, when you're talking about the mental side of the game and your approach and being positive, I think it's an untapped source, and I think it's so important because as scouts, there's what are the 5 tools we got? Hitting for power, hitting for average, arms, throwing, running. What's the last one?
Fielding.
Fielding. Shocker. But
that's the last one.
I think this is the 6th, and I think it gets overlooked. Yep. Being smart and being mentally tough, and I think that all comes from here and playing with your heart and playing with your head. And I think that's the 6th tool that smart players and mentally strong players stand out. Just it's that 6th tool that's very, very important, and I think it's kind of overseen a lot. And I think stuff like this and what you're doing in this channel, I think it's gonna help a lot of players understand how important your brain and your thought process and motivation is.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of what I'm trying to get kids to do is the hardest part of working with, say, high school age kids is getting them to talk.
Yeah.
Like getting them to open up, because they're at that age of dude, I'm a bad aid, right? I'm 16, 17, 18 years old.
Right.
You want me to be vulnerable with you? You want
Yeah.
me to tell you how I feel? Are you crazy?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. This is going to be invaluable to those guys.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do is just get kids to open up and just have some dialogue back and forth. And so, we talked about that's the course I'm creating online. It's going to be at mentaledge.training is going to be the website to go to when that's all ready to go. But yeah, we're going to continue to do some interviews with guys just like yourself, and we'll just see where this goes. And, obviously we'd love to have you continue to be a part of it and
absolutely
provide value to all these kids.
Absolutely. No, I learned a lot. It's and that's the thing about baseball players. Even when you're done, you still learn. You want to learn as much about baseball to help as much people as you can. So this is going to be a great learning experience for me as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jack, dude. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we get out of this quarantine pretty quick. We can get out to the baseball field and start, getting our sanity back, I think.
Yes. I want to hit something.
All right, dude. Well, you take care of yourself. Tell Julie and the kids hi, and we'll see you soon, man.
You too. All right, buddy. See you.
Okay, take care. Bye.